Fellow musicians, I want to thank Joaquin here for getting us all together for this, might as well call it, a workshop on song leading. And I hope to learn from you, and I'll pass on as much as I know, as much as I can. It just so happens that this very year, I've decided if I never make another record again, I wanted to make a recording of what I know about song leading, and I did a kind of a sing-along concert east, which will be out with Folkways later this year, which is specifically try and explore some of the different techniques I've learned over the years about song leading. Consider this, that our ancestors once upon a time lived in tribes and villages, and they all sang together, really, whether it was North Europe or South Europe or Africa or where else. It was a common thing for villages and small groups of people to know the same songs. Maybe all the men sang their men's songs, the women sang the women's songs. And in this modern life, things have gotten broken up. Some people sing in churches. Summer camps will sing when they get to know each other well. And I guess other organizations have this singing too, but I think you and I face kind of a special situation in this period of history, late 20th century, of walking out on some kind of a platform or standing up in some kind of a room with a batch of other people who come from a whole lot of different places, a lot of different traditions, and we'd like them to sing together too, just like they did in the old days. And how are we going to get them together? All my life, loved to holler and make a racket, and I'd sing Christmas carols with my friends and school songs. I sang the school chorus and glee club later on. But it was when I started making a living of sorts, traveling around with a banjo, that people pointed out to me, and I gradually realized that I didn't have really much of a voice, that I could get people singing with me, and that made up for a lot of lacks on my part. And they were all singing loud. They didn't care whether I could sing good or not. They were the music that came out was pretty good. Usually I sing standing up. Now, Lead Belly always sang sitting down, and got a crowd singing with him. Josh White would put his foot on a chair, and he'd get a crowd singing with him. It was Josh, incidentally, who gave me the idea, taught me, of feeding out the lines between a song. He did it so expertly. On top of old Smoky, all covered with snow, I lost my true lover. I lost my true love. Walking so slow. Of course, you can do that with a jillion other songs. Sometimes it's easier than other times. Sometimes you have to really shoot out the words quick, and if you're a fraction of a second too late or too early, it confuses things rather than helping. With a song, If I Had a Hammer, for example, I don't have time to get the whole line. I'm singing at top speed with top energy, and yet it does help the crowd. Even though they theoretically know the song, it does help them if I just give them a little hint. I got a hammer. Well, I got a hammer. I got a bell. I got a bell. And I got a song. I got a song. Oh, a hammer of justice. It's a hammer of justice. The bell of freedom. Love between the brothers and the sisters. That I don't usually sing in the beginning of a concert, and part of this workshop is going to be on how you can group songs. You want a flow and continuity, at the same time you want variety. And sometimes when you find yourself getting in a rut, the best way to do is just make a violent switch, do something totally unexpected. I've given up planning songs too exactly in advance. I try to, but sometimes the improvised ones work better. And one reason they work better is that right in the middle of a concert, I think, things are not going as well as they should. I got to think of them. So while I'm singing one song, I'm trying to think of what can I do to get out of this rut. I may sing a very slow song with no accompaniment. I may sing a funny song or a bawdy song or for that matter something very, very serious. But a switch, something that was not expected. And maybe my own success as a singer is more due to this, the fact that I've got a lot of songs in the back of my head, several hundred, and I can pull them out, pull out the right song at the right time, because I really don't have much in the way of voice. I can sing, but not what you call a good voice. I can play guitar and banjo, but I'm not a great instrumentalist. But having this batch of songs in the back of my head that I can pull out a wide range of songs, and after all, no two audiences are alike, right? We sing for senior citizens, or we can sing for little kids. We can sing for shy country people, or blasé teenagers. So it's a big help to know a lot of different kinds of songs. Otherwise, well, no, if you want to stick to one particular type of audience, maybe you're safe there. Like if you always sing for summer camps, you know all the camp songs. John Jacob, Jingle Irish Smith. And I suppose the same thing would go if you sang mostly for senior citizens. You sing mostly for senior citizens. You say, what kind of songs do you sing?
Well, I usually hand out like percussion instruments and do some up-tempo things.
Tambourines. Good.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Ain't She Sweet or
old pop songs.
Yeah.
Margie, I was thinking of you, Margie. I bet they remember the days of the bouncing ball. Yeah. I don't mind reading words off a screen, and from time to time I do it. I shoot words up on the screen, or I write out words on a big sheet of paper. But I really don't like everybody burying their nose in a sheet of paper. And when I'm coming to sing for some audience and they say, well, let us know some of the songs you're going to sing, we'll mimeograph them and we'll have everybody. I say, please don't. You can mimeograph them if you want to, but let's hand them out later on. Don't hand them out while I'm singing, because there's a kind of unity lost, I think, when everybody's got their nose buried in that piece of paper. First of all, you can't sing well this way. You sing much better with your head raised up. And of course, as any choral director knows, you sing best when you're standing up. Fill a lung full of air, really sing out. But I think I've started off this session, and I'll continue on it a little bit. Have any of you had this experience that the choice of song can be crucial? I mean, you might think a song would always be good, but somehow it didn't sound like it was supposed to. It didn't go over, and the reason was because it was in the wrong place. Maybe you had too many loud songs, and it was one more loud song. Or maybe it was you'd had too many slow songs, it was one more slow song. Or else it didn't mean anything to the people. And in a sense, we're not just singing, as you know, music, we're singing words. And I feel that sometimes the words can be meaningless, as in a lot of pop songs they are, granted. I was trying to analyze some pop songs, and the more I thought of how stupid can you get? What was it, Disney? Well, Margie is a typical. I confess that I came to this whole field feeling that the world needs to be pulled together, and musicians can help pull it together. 1% of the country owns 1/3 of its wealth, and I'd like to unify the other 99% if I could. The men and the women, and the gay and the straight, and the black and the white, and the young and the old, and the long hair and the crew cut. Some people think I'm wrong about this. They say you're trying to unify too large a group. Cut it down to 80%. But I find myself sticking with the 99%. And if I offend the other 1%, I don't really mind. But I don't like to offend people if I don't have to. On the other hand, I think often that I haven't done a good job if I haven't stretched their imagination a little by singing something that they're not quite sure they agree with. And so this is part of it, singing a foreign language song occasionally. What do I want to sing in Spanish for? Only speak Spanish. But I feel very strongly that this country needs to be more bilingual. And I sing Spanish songs whenever I get a chance to. Guantanamera is, of course, one of the great ones. There's an awful lot more. But this feeling of continuity and variety, too, is what I probably was able to develop more than most people because I had a good memory. I guess a good memory does help. I can't remember a grocery list, but I can remember songs. And I can't remember if I sit down and try and write them, but I stand up and start singing and there's a memory in my tongue somewhere, a memory in my muscle or in my hands. It happened just the other day. I was going to sing Hard Rain Is Gonna Fall with a lot of words. And I said, I haven't sung this about 6 months. Do I know it really? And I don't. Well, I got to try it anyway. I remember the whole song once I got up there. 10,000 people were in front of me, and I would have been kind of embarrassed if I mucked it. But once I started singing, the muscle memory came out, and I remembered all the lines. So memory does help. One of the questions asked, does pitch help? Does rhythm help? All these things help. Let's take these up later on. But right now I'm talking about knowing a whole lot of different songs. Funny songs, bawdy songs, angry songs, sad songs, and some songs which you sing solo. After all, people would want to rest their vocal cords. And this is also why I play a recorder sometimes to rest my own vocal cords, and just play a tune on a whistle or play an instrumental on the guitar. So do you have this? Do you do this also, Tom? When you're if you're getting a whole crowd singing, do you find let's rest our vocal cords for a while and play an instrumental or something?
Well, I don't do that so much because I don't, as you said earlier, I don't consider myself to be that much of an instrumentalist. So it'd be very embarrassing for me to try to play an instrumental. At the same time, what's fun sometimes is to teach a chorus so well in the way that you're talking about that people can sing it back to me. I really enjoy that, and there's some rest in that sometimes.
Harry Chapin does this. Harry Chapin has a song. The Cat's Cradle. Cat's in the cradle of a tiny silver spoon. It's a very serious song, if you don't know it, about his wife wrote it, and it was aimed at him. And he wrote the tune for it because he recognized the truth about the father who was always busy, and says to his kid wants to play, and he says, later, we'll get together. And the chorus is from the old nursery rhyme. Cat's in the cradle and a silver spoon, the little boy blue and the man in the moon. And after he sung 2 or 3 or 4 verses of it, even the people who never heard it before have learnt this chorus. And he'll ask the crowd to sing it back to him. And he'll just sit there listening. He'll play the accompaniment. So you do that too?
Yeah, every now and then. I've heard Tom Paxton do that several times with some of the old standards that he's done. He'll just say, now you sing it. It's really fun.
Yeah, well, it gives the audience a feeling of their own strength. I don't do it so much, but in a sense I do, in that I stop singing on the song and just feed them the lines a little bit. Harry also does this with "All My Life's a Circle, Circle, Sunrise and Sundown, Moon shines through the night time." It's a gentle, sentimental song, and he'll say, "Let's hear the balcony sing it." And everybody listens to the balcony. He says, "Let's hear the front rows in the expensive seats sing it." And they stand up and pace backwards and sing the rest. He'll say, "Hey, there's Mike out there been handling the sound system all over. Mike, you sing this." And Mike, without any microphone in front of me, he'll sing the chorus. And sometimes the person handling the lights, "Come on out here," he gets them out from the wings. And he'll keep it going for not just 2 or 3 minutes, but 4 or 5 or 6 minutes. And this leads me to something that I was slow to realize, is that sometimes when a song is only going half well, instead of stopping it, the best thing is to go on with it, because it'll get better and better. Bess Hawes had a guitar class she was teaching in a school, and the black man who was the maintenance man was supposed to stay there to close up the joint. He liked to come and listen to them. He says, "Stick with one song a long time." And he'd repeat that. That was his main contribution. And it's also one of the African traditions, that you stay with it till you really are with it. You don't get halfway and say, "Well, I guess it was a mistake," and wander off halfway through. You stick with it until you get there. And it may take 5 minutes, it may take 15 minutes. But if you've been to black churches, you'll know how they'll sing the whole thing over. Odetta did this once when we were giving a Woody Guthrie program. We were singing "This Land Is Your Land." She wouldn't let us stop it. She just kept singing it over and over. And every time I thought, well, this surely must be the last time. But she sang again and again and again. And the audience rose to the occasion. They got better and better and better and better and better till they were on their feet and they were singing at their best. Far better than they were 3 minutes before, when we would have normally ended the song. This is an African technique. It also was used in the play Hair, where they repeated that last line, "Let the sun shine, let the sun shine." That was originally just the last line of the song. The person who wrote the song never wrote that. It was the black performers who did this. And it's one more African tradition which we white people are absorbing. Now, I've rattled on here for about 10 or 15 minutes, I guess, haven't I?
Lenny uses a lot of instrumental in his work. You've mentioned that, don't you?
Well, I play some South American instruments, which I was using to both for the interest that they have, and I realized at one point that I was doing a concert where the second half I was doing all my own songs, and I was kind of feeling, I feel a little bit like Tom, that my instrumental work isn't now worth putting out there alone. But I realized that the charango in the first half gives people a break from words as well. They can just listen to the music and it's a rest. And I realized here I'm doing 12
solo on an instrument with a verse sung by 1 or 2 or 3 people with a whole crowd. Look what Bach did. He'd write these wonderful fancy things in the organ, and his choir would sing some harmony, and then all of a sudden the whole congregation, they said, "Oh, we know this song," and they all sang it. And every week he had a new one for him. The greatest period of music writing history was the last years of his life, when he just lived in the little city of Leipzig, making up some fancy new arrangement for an old song. So now the light's going off, and is the tape going off for a while too?
Break.
Let's sing a little song just for old time's sake, because it was 34 years ago that a woman, 46 years old, down in Los Angeles she was living. She met me and Earl Robinson, Sutton's mother, said, I'd like to try writing songs. And this was one of her first songs. I get butterflies in my stomach whenever I start to sing. When I'm at a microphone, I should like anything. But if you sing along with me, I'll do my
right out loud.
I'm awful nervous, lonesome, but I'm swell when I'm around. Sing along, sing along, sing along, sing along, and just sing la 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 la. If you don't know the song, you'll quickly learn the music. You'll find yourself a word. When we sing together, we'll be heard. You'll quickly learn the music. You'll find yourself a word. Because when we sing together, we'll be heard. You'll quickly learn the music. You'll find yourself a word. Because when we sing together, we'll be heard. And she had verses about my congressman was important, he hobnobs with big biz. Verses about unions, and then she ended, life is full of problems. The world's a funny place. I sometimes wonder why the hell I joined the human race. If you sing along with me, I'll do my part right pretty. I'm awful nervous, lonesome, but I make this swell committee. Sing along, sing along, sing along, sing along, and just say la 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 la. If you don't know the song, you'll quickly learn the music. You'll find yourself a word. 'Cause when we sing together, we'll be heard. And that was Malvina Reynolds.
Well, why don't we take a short little break? Okay, break. What's the house about?
We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved. Now this is all right for a lullaby. If you're going to sing it down that low. I purposely started the song in a very, very low key. Are we on? No, we're not even on. We're not even starting.
Yeah, we're okay.
I'll have to start all over again.
Give us the words, Dylan.
We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved like a tree that's planted by the wall. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved like a tree that's planted by the water. We shall not be moved. Now, no two voices are exactly alike, but I rather guess that's a little bit low and comfortable a key. You could sing a lullaby in that key, nice and soft. But if you really want to sing out, it's hard to do it, at least for me, at that low key. So I usually, instead of singing in C like that, way up, just up into D, up here, way up. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved, just like a tree that's planted by the water. We shall not be moved. It's tremendously important to get the song in the right pitch, and if you ever sang with a quartet, you can get in the fiercest arguments. Should it be in C or C sharp? No, it must. The Weavers would argue for 2 hours about the key for a song. Because Ronnie is an alto, and what was a good key for her was a little bit too low for me. I sometimes won, sometimes she won. But you'll find as a song leader that the same song can sound very, very different. Even what we just sang it in, I wouldn't consider real picket line key. If you want this song to sound out good, I mean good. Now this is going to be too high for some of the women, so you can sing the harmony. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved. Now you have just a few notes above the men. We are singing a prayer, we shall not. So now this is what I call a picket line. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved like a tree standing by the water. We shall not be moved. And good alto singers love to do that. They sing low right down in the middle of their register with a good strong alto voice, but they sing just 3 notes above all the men. And you get nice 2-part harmony. This is done in many folk choirs. Do you ever hear the Piatnitsky, the chorus of Russia?
Yeah.
The women have the same range of voice that the Carter family had, but they also did the same thing. Women sang low, and men sing high. And this is just one little thing that's a lot of fun to try sometimes with a crowd, to let them stretch their voices. Let the men really push their men's voices as high as they can, instead of loafing around in the cellar. Just raise it. And I rarely will start that song in that such a high key. I'd scare everybody away. They say, oh, this is too high for me. I'm not going to sing on there. Let him wear out his voice. So I'll start it down low, and then I'll stop it and raise it. And I may raise it a little more. Raise it. And if it's really going well, they suddenly realize how much higher they can sing if they have to. Of course, you know what Beethoven did. He pushed things up to the absolute limit of the range when he did the Ode to Joy in E flat, and they sang. You wonder how they did it, but they did it. They're inspired. There's one choral director I knew in Canada, and she says, "You're not out of breath, you're out of conviction." But pitch is tremendously important. The right key for every song. And the same song can sound so differently, low or high. Fortunately, I've got a kind of average voice. I don't have a particularly high tenor, and I don't have a low bass. I wish many times I did have a great range to my voice. I'd love to be able to sing one of those high tenors. And I'd even like even more to be a bass singer. Oh, I'd love to if I could sing a rich bass, but I can't. My voice just kind of goes to a rumbly rumble. When I try and sing low, it just vanishes. Has no, without a microphone, I couldn't be heard on a bass. Of course, I can fake it with a microphone, and you can too if you have a good microphone. You can fake a low note. It's very soft, but you just move in close to the microphone. Like we shall not be moved. We shall not be moved. Now nobody could hear that if I didn't have a microphone. But with a microphone it comes out, and it adds to a good. I'd say bass singing is the thing we're still weakest on in this country. You go to Eastern Europe where they have these big choruses, you hear these wonderful rich basses. Go to a church that's been singing together for generations and got these big basses. Oh, I'm envious. And in our sing-alongs, we rarely, I would say, have enough basses. Do you ever hear enough basses? Yeah. We haven't built up a good tradition of bass singing yet. I'd say it's better than it used to be, and a lot of people singing Weimawet with me have learned a little bit about bass singing, because the African choirs, the South African choirs, all depend on a rich bass. Well, just for the fun of it, I'll teach you. All the men sings, Highway, highway, Somagwaza. Can you get that note? Highway, highway, Somagwaza. Highway, highway, Somagwaza. That's too low. You can take the high part. Somebody else should sing, Somagwaza, my yo way. Try that. Somagwaza, my yo way. Try it again. Somagwaza, my yo way. The song I learned out of a book given me by a wonderful South African woman, Mrs. Z.K. Matthews. She and her husband were living in exile in New York, and she said, Weimar is a good song, we like the way you do it, but you should learn some of our other songs. And she gave me a whole book of these songs, and I tried learning a couple of them. And this is like a round, it goes over and over and over. It's initiation for the young men. They're circumcised, and as the whole village stands around and sings this song. And there's a third part, so don't lose your place in it. Here we go. Highway, highway, Somagwaza. Highway, highway, Somagwaza. Highway, highway, Somagwaza. Highway, Somagwaza. We should have done that for about 5 minutes till we're really in it. It's a great round. I call it a round. It's not quite like the English rounds, but that bass, it's so wonderful to get a good rich bass, and I hope that maybe some of our songwriters will work on it. The gospel singers have done pretty good, but we need to do better.